Okay, so welcome to Women Build and Cost of Home 2021. I am Kris Lewis Medina, the Executive Director and CEO of Pikes Peak Habitat for Humanity. We have served El Paso County for 35 years, 191 families and going. Most of those families we have served have been through new home construction, but we have also done repairs and rehabilitations. So lots going on, many more things to do. Having been here for 35 years, we are super excited about celebrating our anniversary. And this year, we're going to do it in a big way by opening a second restore, hopefully in June of this year. We're actually 5 companies in one. So we're a land development company, a home construction company. We do advocacy, which means we work hard to make change through policies and strategies. We're out there being the voice for affordable housing. We also, through our homeowner services program, we do outreach and education and hold our Habitat homeowners' hands all the way through the process so they can be as successful as possible when they do become a homeowner. And we also originate the mortgage. So all of our homeowners have an affordable mortgage, and we do the origination on that as well. And we're a thrift retail through our restore. So all sorts of things are going on with Pikes Peak Habitat for Humanity. I will let you know that Sarah, our volunteer coordinator, is in the room with me, and she will be taking care of any questions that you may have. So if you have questions, at the bottom of your screen is a little chat box. Type your questions in that, and Sarah will keep track of it. And then hopefully, if I don't talk too much at the end of this, we will go through your questions. The other thing, at the very end of this presentation, you will have my contact information, both my email and my phone number. So if you have other questions that come to mind, feel free to reach out. I will tell you the easiest way to reach me, though, is through email. I'm at my desk a lot, but not all the time. So email me if you have a question. When it comes to this presentation, there are a few things that I want to touch on in our brief 30 minutes. And each of these topics we could go into detail for hours, but I don't have that amount of time because the staff knows I talk too much. So on Women Build, we're going to talk about why and what is Women Build, same for the Cost of Home campaign. And the fact that women and the lack of affordable housing, unfortunately, go hand in hand. And what can each of us do to address that? And then we'll get to your questions and answers. But again, make sure if you have questions, type them in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. With Women Build, Lowe's is our sponsor. They're a national partner with Habitat International. And they have provided since 2003 $65 million for Habitat programs, including underwriting Women Build and International Women Build Week. As a matter of fact, they have their own group of core volunteers, and they're called the Lowe's Heroes. Over the years, they have built on 17,000 Habitat home sites across the country. So Lowe's is a phenomenal partner, and we thank them for sponsoring Women Build. In addition to that, to the Women Build, it's not just a fundraising opportunity, it's so much more. We are looking for volunteers and advocates through Women Build. The focus is getting women involved in affordable housing. Men are welcome to join just as much. But the thing is, when it comes to construction, it's predominantly still a male institution. There are women-owned and women-led construction companies, and they are here in El Paso County. But we want women to come out on the construction site, even if they've never been out there before, and we'll teach you how to do it and empower you with the power tool and the voice of affordable housing. And you'll get to meet some of our future homeowners as well. Women Build is about celebrating the women we serve. 60% of Habitat homeowners in the United States are led by women. And the majority of our neighborhoods are housing women and children who are in need of affordable housing. And that's predominantly because women and children are the ones that are most likely to be affected by poor living conditions. So Women Build Events sponsors the opportunity for women to take a proactive step in their communities by taking the time to focus at least one day out of the year on affordable housing. And here at Pikes Peak Habitat, we have Women Build once a quarter for a week. So if you didn't get time to get out this week, there's plenty of more opportunities to come up. And our Habitat Women Build volunteers, they come from all walks of life, coming together to support people they've never even met before to build homes, hope, and community. And you also advocate because you go home and tell your story about the wonderful experience you had to family, friends, and neighbors. Now, when it comes to cost of home, that is a national campaign that Habitat for Humanity International created. For 5 years, we plan to impact 10 million people to increase their opportunities to access affordable housing. 1,300 Habitat affiliates in the United States are all working together in a variety of ways to support affordable housing. But some of us, like Pikes Peak Habitat for Humanity, are taking the time to really invest in advocacy and actively promote the cost of housing campaign. We want to be the voice of advocacy, and we're asking that you join in that. When it comes to affordable housing, it's already been in crisis even long before the pandemic. And the pandemic has made it worse. And I don't foresee us coming out of this housing crisis very quickly, if at all, without serious looks at changing policy and strategies and informing people that affordable housing impacts all of us. 31% of families, of adults, reported that their families could not pay rent or their mortgage or their utilities. They were food insecure and they could not take care of their medical needs just in the first month of the pandemic. It's certainly gotten worse since then. So recovering from that, from the impact of the pandemic when housing was already in crisis, is going to be a rough job. But together, hopefully we can really address that. Now, the fact that housing has been in crisis across the United States and actually globally since before the pandemic, now is the time to take that opportunity and make it an opportunity to be the voice of change and increase access to affordable housing. And that's why the Cost of Home campaign was developed. Right now, it's in front of everyone that housing is in crisis. So let's work together and make that awareness become a tool. When it comes to the Cost of Housing campaign, there are 4 key areas that we're looking to address. Each one of these I could go into much more detail, but let me touch on a little bit on each topic. When we're wanting to increase the supply and the preservation ability of what is out there and what isn't out there. So if we can increase the supply, that can be through new construction, acquiring existing homes that can stay affordable and be repaired, be safe, as well as increase the number of affordable rentals. So Habitat isn't focused right now just on building homes. It's all about having a safe place to live, whether you're renting or you're owning. We want to increase access to existing housing stock, which means we need to strengthen, grow, and enforce local, state, and national programs that ensure households will have access to existing affordable housing opportunities, regardless of income. We also want to preserve existing affordable homes. Right now, because the housing market is so hot in many areas, including here in El Paso County, people are seeing the value of their homes having gone up. They're selling them, thinking that they're going to have a whole bunch of equity, which they do. But if they stay locally, they have found that, yes, they have a lot of cash in their pocket now, but they have priced themselves out of the market. So they're not as housing stable as they had been. And the homes that they have just sold, they're becoming rentals. They're being sold to investors who are raising the rental price well beyond what most of the working class and lower income people can afford, not only here in El Paso County, but across the country. We also want to address the equitable increase to accessing credit. Actually, credit is still a problem for people of color, for low income. So even though they may have good credit, they don't have a way to prove it. Not all landlords turn in that somebody, the report to credit agencies that they have been paying their lease on time. There's a number of ways that we need to look at how can we get the fact that they're paying their bills on time and to enhance their credit scoring. The other thing that we want to look at are builders. We need a variety of programs where builders can access credit that will increase their desire to build affordable housing, whether that's rental or home ownership. And there are a number of programs out there. It's just making them desirable for builders to access. And then there's fair lending and consumer protection issues. Even though we have regulations in place, there's still a lot of violations to that. And honestly, there are racial and age discrimination still occurring with credit lending in the United States. Land is always an issue. It is such a hot commodity now. Builders cannot build the homes fast enough. Land is being scooped up, and the cost of developing the land is becoming extremely expensive. A lot of that has to do with regulatory requirements. Each home, whether it's an apartment complex, a rental, a homeowner-occupied home, they've had to pay tap fees to just get access for utilities to that home. Those tap fees are increasing because city requirements are increasing, whether it's reporting or a variety of needs. So the regulatory compliance behind getting access to the land, getting it developed, it's also sending the cost of housing through the roof. So those are the first three things: credit and preservation of affordable housing and getting new housing going, as well as access to land. But in addition to that, we want to look at communities of opportunity, particularly for women who are disproportionately impacted by the lack of affordable housing. For anyone, a home is not just a building. Women who are head of household by 60% for Habitat families, and I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it's pretty high across the country as women head of household. They're looking for a community that has resources where they and their family can live and work and grow. And they want to build their homes on environmentally sound land where they're not in a floodplain or they're not on land that's been contaminated through a variety of toxic wastes. That is a problem here in the United States. They also want and deserve the right to access economic and social opportunities. If you don't have a neighborhood where jobs are easy to get to, where there's mass transportation that makes getting to work or to childcare or to medical appointments easy, then they're not having the economic advantage that so many of us already have. And this is where we also need systems in place to prevent gentrification. When people move into neighborhoods predominantly of lower income, and they start fixing up those homes, whether to be rentals or to move in, as they fix up those homes, the value of the homes goes up and the property taxes increase. And honestly, that frequently causes those people, the current residents, to have to move out. They can no longer afford to live in the home that they've been in, whether it's been 1 year or it's been for generations. So many, many things that we need to look at, but those 4 key areas is what cost of home is focused on. There's a lot of other areas we could impact, but we chose the top 4 that we can take the time and do the most good. Now, women have had, as I mentioned, they're disproportionately impacted by the lack of affordable housing. And there's a number of reasons for that, and I'll get into that for a moment. But I wanted you to become aware, if you aren't already, that women in this country, there's more than 5 million jobs were lost in the US just in the last year. But women's unemployment claims are 10 times higher than men. And people of color are disproportionately higher on the unemployment. Now for women, of the women who are unemployed, 5.2% are white women, 8.9% are Black women, and 8.5% are Latino women. So women of color are already at a disadvantage, not only because jobs, gender, and race, but because they also are predominantly in or cannot access affordable housing. They're in expensive housing. They're paying not only 30% more of their income, they are paying more than 50% of their income. So not a good thing. And when you look at women now, they are at a 33-year low at being in the job market. It was already down a little bit before the pandemic, but the pandemic has just wiped out jobs that women are predominantly in. When it comes to service industries, whether it's restaurants, being a CNA at a senior service center, or for other medical care, administrative positions, those are predominantly filled by women, and those are low wage earning positions. So earning minimum wage, or even if you're earning $3 more an hour than minimum wage at a service industry, those people who are providing us our Starbucks or waiting on us at the restaurant or bagging our groceries, they can't afford to live in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment without working 2 to 3 jobs. So that's a huge impact. And so these women, they're out of work, and a lot of their jobs have been eliminated. Many of the businesses they used to work at, including childcare centers or senior centers, they actually folded because they lost the revenue that kept their doors open. Now, when it comes to women consistently living in poverty more than men, all of these topics here that you can see, all of these bullet points, you could write a doctorate on each and every one, but I want to touch on some of the key ones here. With race and ethnicity, women of nearly all races and ethnicities face higher rates of poverty than their male counterparts. So that's all races and ethnicities. Then when you go to marital and parental status, unmarried mothers have higher rates of poverty than married women with or without children. So unmarried women without children, they have an advantage over those who are unmarried and have kids. Almost 1/4, 25% of unmarried mothers, they live below the poverty line. So that's pretty hard to make a living on when you have either no job, or you're at entry-level job, or you're in a service industry job. Now, age, that's a huge issue as well. There's a gap widens significantly. When between male and females in childhood, their poverty level, it's fairly equal. But when women enter the ages 18 to 44, which is prime child care and childbearing years, they are significantly impacted and going into poverty areas. And women age 75 and older, there's a difference between women and men, both on the childbearing age, but as a senior citizen. So a woman who's at 75 years of age, they're a little over 13% on the unemployment or on the poverty line, but men are at 8%. So even our elders, our elderly women, are impacted by poverty even more so than men. And either way, it's wrong. Our seniors should not have to be living in poverty. In disability status, women with disabilities are more likely to live in poverty than both men with disabilities and individuals without disabilities. So women have a pretty tough basket to get tipped over and refilled with the opportunities that it takes to have a job and advantages that can provide the opportunities that affordable housing can bring. So there's a lot of things that impact women. I'm not saying men aren't having difficulties too, they are, but women are disproportionately impacted. Nationally, it hasn't been good even before the pandemic, as I mentioned. 1 in 6 households in the United States are paying more than 50% of their income on housing. In Colorado, it's 1 in 7 paying more than 50%. And here in El Paso County, it is 1 in 8. Those are huge numbers when you think about the number of people who are serving us, whether at the gas station, at the convenience store, or taking our information at urgent care. They can't afford housing. Our firefighters, our EMTs, Our police officers, particularly entry level, they can't afford housing here and frequently across the country. So how are we supposed to help keep our community safe when we can't recruit the people who help keep us safe because the cost of housing is so high? So there's a number of issues that we need to address, and we can only do that by working together. Here in Colorado, our minimum wage is $12 an hour, and that is above the national average. But $12 an hour, whether you're working 2 full-time jobs at $12 an hour or 3, is not going to get you into a medium level home that in Colorado takes $100,000 in wages to afford. And the Colorado Springs Gazette last week, they just had a story on the record-breaking average cost of a home. In February, here in Colorado Springs, the average cost of a home sale price was $403,000. You can't make that on minimum wage or even double minimum wage. Affordable housing is out of reach. So these are all things that we need to work on together, whether it's rental or it's home ownership. Affordable housing is a key right to basic health, to good food, to being proactive in your medical care, and for having a strong and healthy community. Women in the lack of affordable housing. It's not a good picture for any of us. So try to think, if you're not sold yet that women are in difficulties, much less the rest of our country, take $12 an hour, take it, multiply it by 40 hours a week, an average work week, and see what you get. Or take $12 an hour times 2,080 hours. That's equivalent to a full-time job. Take that number, reduce it by 10 to 20% for taxes, and that's what you have left for housing, food, childcare, car maintenance, entertainment, a variety of other things. Most likely you can't make it on that. So see what you would leave on the table so that you can have a place to live, whether it's decent and affordable or not. Envision a world where everyone has a decent and safe place to live. Some people find that Habitat's vision is unobtainable, but you know what? For each home that we get built, for each family that we help get into an affordable and safe and decent place to live, rented or owned, with decent, safe water, sanitation, that's a world that's been solved and uplifted for that family. So we can do it, and we have to do it, but you need to help us as well through volunteering, through being the voice, through having the correct information to go out and help us tell our story. So it impacts each and every one of us, your neighbor, you, me, our entire community. We're stronger when we all have affordable, safe, and decent housing. Your voice can help through advocacy, through cost of home, through being a volunteer and going out and telling the story of affordable housing. So volunteer with us, help build homes and community and hope and strength and sustainability in a variety of ways. Our construction sites, they're starting to open up across the country little by little. The pandemic will eventually go away and we'll be stronger for it, but your voice can help. Each year, Habitat for Humanity goes to what we call Habitat on the Hill in Washington, D.C. It's in February. This year it was virtual. But if you're interested in being a volunteer and an advocate with affordable housing, reach out to me and see if you'd like to go with me to Washington, D.C. next year and learn about what policies and systems need to be changed or can be bettered, or say, hey, wait, that policy isn't so good for affordable housing, and help be that voice of change with us and with other legislators and with other, there's so many different organizations that help be the voice, and you can be that voice. So thank you. I know I talked a lot and I talked fast, and there's my contact information if you'd like to reach out. Any questions? Okay, Sarah's not seeing any in the chat. So that may be a good thing, probably because I talked really, really fast. Oh. She's muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So, well, thank you for the presentation. I'll join you at Washington, D.C. for this if you need some support. I am a local realtor. I have a property management business. And so it's quite the dichotomy of, you know, running a business and seeing the disparity with tenants losing their jobs and wanting to help at the same time. So, I don't disagree with the points of your presentation. And I appreciate the socioeconomic forecast that you presented as well, because I think it's important that, you know, people that have never volunteered for Habitat for Humanity kind of get a general idea as to what you're trying to do in order to figure out how they can help. Yeah. It is getting harder, and I agree with you. It's unfortunate that the median home price has risen that high, and the rental prices are going up equally. So, you know, any way that I can help would be great. You know, I volunteered a year ago, right when the pandemic started. And I was wanting to go back out, but they kind of ceased operations for volunteers in the field. So, but I loved, you know, just that one day, and it was with the PPAR, Association of Realtors. So, in fact, I was the only realtor that showed up that day, but I know that other realtors showed up that week, which is good. I think prior to me coming. So, yeah. I just, you know, I don't know how. I'd love to help more. And so I don't know where you're missing, you know, some continuity in order to make this a firmer presentation in the public. But I would love to be able to help you out in any way I can.
Okay, and thank you. PPAR was a phenomenal sponsor for a few years on our Realtors Build. So thank you for not only showing up to volunteer and swing a hammer with us, but also for the support of the PPAR group, because they helped us get more houses built. So let me think about it. You and I can connect. We have a number of committees that we have, and I know that not everyone has time for committees. I really want to figure out a way to make the time to create an advocacy committee. Our staff's at capacity right now. So for me, I need to look for volunteers so that we can spread the word even more and figure out how to make impactful presentations and who to reach out and get in front of, not only for Women Build, which is key, but just for getting the word out about what Habitat does and what affordable housing. So yeah, I will pick your brain.
Well, you know, it's hopefully we can get back on track here soon in the next few months after this pandemic kind of levels off with vaccinations on the rise. But we will still have to deal with the fallout from it. And you know, food scarcity is also something, you know, that I definitely want to be involved in, that I know is not within your level of expertise in what you do. But yeah, I just let me know.
Oh yeah, if you feel comfortable with it, if you could put in your email in the chat box, and then I will have it. Or if you want to just email me at the email that I've got on the screen, and then we can get the conversation going. Either way would work great.
Okay.
No, thank you for your feedback. And hopefully I didn't talk too fast. Sarah's over there laughing at me, but I was like, I've got so much to say. And I am passionate about what we do and why we do it, and we can make change. You know, and I'll let you go because I know we're getting ready to run out of time, but with Habitat's advocacy that we did at Habitat on the Hill, I just found out that Congress did listen to us and a number of other organizations, because when they passed the American Rescue Act, Plan Act that they just passed, Habitat for Humanity was really pushing on that, and $9.96 billion was set aside for homeowner assistance funds, which enables all 50 states to direct assistance to homeowners who are behind in their mortgages or facing foreclosure. And there's also rental assistance to help reduce and prevent evictions. And there was a bunch of other funding in there for other affordable housing. So sometimes
that was in the COVID bill?
Yeah. So as much as some people feel it's not going to be helpful for those needing affordable housing, there were some huge pieces in there. There's $7 billion for additional funds for the second draw of the Paycheck Protection Act or plan. There's $100 million for housing counseling. I mean, there's a lot in there that will help. So yay. Anyhow.
No, I think it's great. It's unfortunate that no Republicans voted for it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, as long as it got passed, and we'll get families some help. So thank you, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops, there's two things in the chat. Are we good to go? Oh,
that's it.
Okay. Yay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Have a good evening. Stay healthy and safe.